The morning of my graduation began long before the sun bothered to rise. The sky outside my bedroom window was still a deep navy. Quiet, heavy, untouched. When my eyes opened as if pulled by some invisible thread. I hadn't set my alarm for another 40 minutes, but my body was humming, restless, vibrating with nerves that felt both electric and hollow. For a moment, I lay there under the thin blanket, staring at the ceiling, letting my heart beat in my ears. My graduation day. 6 years of exhaustion, sacrifices, and swallowed pride distilled into a single morning. And somewhere inside me a small, stubborn hope flickered. I sat up, pushed my hair out of my face, and took a deep breath that felt too big for my chest. The cheap graduation gown hung from my closet door like a shadow, a reminder that yes, I had made it inch by inch, night class by night class, paycheck to paycheck. I swung my legs off the bed and walked to the kitchen in the dark, familiar by now with the way the floor creaked near the fridge. I brewed coffee, the steam warming my face as the machine rattled in its usual struggling way. I wrapped my hands around the mug and let my eyes close for just a second. Maybe today they'll show up. The thought came uninvited, but gentle, hopeful. A scenario formed in my mind. My mother in her soft cardigan, wringing her hands because she was nervous for me. My father pretending not to be emotional. Mason cracking jokes to hide discomfort. They wouldn't bring flowers. I knew better than that. But maybe my mother would squeeze my hand afterward. Maybe my father would pat my shoulder. Maybe Mason would toss an arm around me. Tiny, ordinary things. But ordinary things were exactly what I had spent years wishing for. I took a sip of coffee, letting the fantasy linger just long enough to sting. Don't be stupid, I whispered to myself, setting the mug down. But even I didn't believe the scolding tone. My heart couldn't help it. It wanted them there. I got ready slowly, carefully. I curled my hair the way my mother always said looked too much. Annabelle. But today I wanted to feel polished. Whole. Worthy. I put on mascara with a steady hand, even though my eyes already felt prickly from the lack of sleep. Then I stepped into the only pair of heels I owned. Black, scuffed on the bottom. Bought secondhand for a job interview that never called me back. While I smoothed the fabric of my dress, I checked my phone. Nothing. Again, nothing. The silence scraped my nerves raw, but I told myself they were getting ready, maybe rushing. Maybe trying not to make a fuss. Maybe they wanted to surprise me. Then a notification lit up my lock screen. Family group chat. Mom, look at my dip! Turned out perfect this year! A photo popped up. Her famous 7-layer dip placed beautifully on the coffee table. Dad replied seconds later. Datey, if the Packers disappoint me again today, I swear. Mason. Got a bet running already, lol. Easy money. I stared at the photo. At the dip, at the snacks. At the TV already tuned to pregame analysis. At the timestamp. The ceremony was in 2 hours. They weren't getting ready. They weren't rushing. They weren't even thinking about me. A lump rose in my throat, hot and tight. But hope, fragile, foolish hope, whispered one more excused. Maybe they're distracted. Maybe they'll text later. Maybe they think the ceremony is longer. Maybe. So I clung to that thread of delusion because letting go felt too much like falling. The auditorium. The campus auditorium buzzed with color and noise. Families arrived in swarms. Fathers carrying bouquets, mothers brushing lint off gowns, siblings snapping pictures with phones held high. People laughed, hugged, cried. The air felt full. Full of love, of pride, of belonging. My heels clicked sharply as I walked, the sound too loud, too lonely. When I reached the front rows, I saw them immediately. 3 seats. Reserved, labeled RN, printed neatly on cardstock. Waiting. Hope surged so fast and so painfully that I forced myself to sit before my legs gave out. I checked my phone again. Nothing. Nothing. The lights began to dim. A soft voice in my mind begged. They'll slip in late. They always do. Maybe they're parking. Maybe traffic. Maybe. My phone buzzed. A photo from the party. My father holding up a beer. My mother laughing. Mason mid-cheer. Pre-game commentary blaring in the background. The timestamp stabbed like a needle. Any last shred of illusion cracked cleanly. They weren't coming. They had never planned to. My stomach sank. My vision blurred for a second. But I blinked rapidly, sitting up straighter, forcing my breathing to stay steady. The dean walked up to the podium. The ceremony began. The first names were called. Mine was called. I stood, I walked. My heels echoed across the stage. My name echoed through the auditorium, and those 3 empty seats stared back at me like open wounds. No cheering. No applause from the front row. No family rising to take a picture. Just a hollow space shaped like people who should have cared. When I shook hands with the dean, his smile was warm, but his eyes flickered. He'd seen the empty seats, too. I swallowed the humiliation like a stone, kept my chin high, and walked offstage to polite applause from strangers. It shouldn't have mattered so much. It shouldn't have broken me. But it did. The parking lot. I made it as far as the last row of cars before my body collapsed onto the curb. The February air cut through my gown, sharp and uncaring. My diploma slipped in my hands as my vision blurred again, this time from tears I couldn't swallow down. My phone buzzed. Another picture from the party. My mother beside a fresh tray of wings. Mason laughing with friends. My father raising a glass like he was toasting something. Not one of them asked Guy, "How did it go, Belle? Are you okay? We're proud of you. We're sorry." Not one word. The tears were soft, silent. Not dramatic sobs, but the quiet kind that come from years of being almost enough but never quite. Every tear felt like a swallowed disappointment finally escaping. I pulled my sleeve across my face. My breath fogged in the cold air. My chest ached with the weight of it all. The ceremony, the silence, the truth I had tried to avoid. That was when my phone buzzed again. Aunt Helena. Saw the ceremony photos online. "Proud of you, sweetheart. Call me when you're free." That was it. Just that. But it settled inside me differently. Warm, steady, like a hand on my shoulder. Someone had seen me today. Someone had chosen to. I stared at the message. The parking lot spinning around me. For a long time, I just sat there, letting the cold press into my skin, letting the truth settle into my bones. Then something shifted, quiet but unmistakable, not hope. Not heartbreak. Something sharper, clarity, and with it, the first flicker of something I hadn't let myself feel in years. Anger. Not wild, destructive anger. Clean anger. Focused, awake. I opened the travel app on my phone. My thumb hovered over the list of flights I had saved months ago, the ones I always told myself I'd take, when life got less hectic. As if that day would ever come. A retreat in Colorado. Snow mountains, silence. A place where no one would demand things from me. Before fear could catch up, my finger moved. One-way ticket. Colorado. Confirm purchase. A shaky exhale left my body. A release I hadn't felt in years. For the first time in my entire life, I had chosen myself. And this quiet moment, sitting in a cold parking lot with wet cheeks and a broken heart, would become the beginning of everything that came next. The airport felt like a different planet, compared to the parking lot I had left behind. Bright lights, rolling suitcases, people hugging hello and goodbye, announcements echoing across high ceilings. For a moment, I felt too small for all of it, as if I were sleepwalking through someone else's life. But my flight confirmation glowed on my screen, undeniable proof. I was leaving. I was choosing me. The idea still felt foreign, almost fragile, like something I might accidentally break if I looked at it too directly. When I boarded the plane, the scent of recirculated air wrapped around me. The cabin hummed softly. Passengers shuffled in their coats, bumping elbows as they settled into their seats. I tucked my backpack beneath the seat in front of me and stared out the window at the glittering runway lights. Colorado. Snow. Silence. Mountains too big for any problem to feel permanent. My chest tightened with a mixture of fear and relief. As the plane pushed back from the gate, I felt something loosen inside me. A thread pulled free after being knotted for too long. When the wheels lifted from the ground and the city shrank below, it felt like a door closing softly behind me. Not slammed, not locked, just closed. For now, the retreat. The Colorado air hit me like a shock. Crisp, thin, bracing. I inhaled sharply, and for the first time all day, my breath felt clean. Not heavy, not forced. The mountains stretched across the horizon like silent guardians. Their presence was so massive, so unmovable, that my worries felt embarrassingly small. The retreat center sat at the end of a long gravel road, half buried in snow, its wooden beams dusted with white. Mountain Resilience Retreat. The carved sign was simple, honest. Inside, everything smelled like pine and cedar. A crackling fireplace warmed the lobby. People lounged on leather chairs, sipping tea wrapped in blankets. The atmosphere was quiet, soft, as if the entire building understood how tired everyone was and chose not to intrude. A woman with silver hair and warm eyes greeted me. "You must be Annabelle," she said gently, as if she somehow already knew that soft voices were what I needed. "We're glad you made it." I felt tears threaten for no reason at all except that kindness, real kindness, is sometimes the sharpest blade. She handed me a key and a welcome packet. "You're in cabin 7. Meals are at 8. Group sessions at 10. Everything else is yours to choose." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "Thank you." Cabin 7 was small but beautiful. Wooden walls, a thick quilt folded neatly on the bed, and a view that could humble even the loudest souls. I set down my backpack, sat on the bed, and let the silence settle around me. No family chatter. No group chat notifications. No guilt pressing into my ribs. Just quiet. Just me. I lay back on the bed and closed my eyes, telling myself I'd rest for a moment. I slept for 14 straight hours. The hard stuff always finds you. The next morning, the world felt different. Crisper, clearer, brighter. After breakfast, I sat by the frozen lake, bundled in a blanket the retreat provided. The air stung my cheeks, but it felt good. Real. Honest. My phone buzzed in my pocket. For a second, my heart jumped. An old reflex. A tiny trader hoping they had noticed my absence. But it wasn't them. It was a bank alert. At first I thought it was a mistake. Maybe low balance because I had paid for the trip, but then I saw the number. My entire savings. Every dollar I had ever scraped together. Gone. My stomach twisted so violently I doubled forward. My hands shook as I scrolled through the statement. Transaction after transaction. Transfers I had never made. Payments I didn't recognize. A sickening cold spread through my body deeper than the mountain wind. Identity theft. My name? My account? My life. Stolen. The final blow landed when I saw the address listed on the transactions. My parents' home address. I stared at the screen as if it might rearrange itself, as if the numbers might reconfigure into something less devastating. But they didn't. They sat there coldly, cleanly, incriminatingly. A sharp, painful realization cut through me. Someone who had my information. Someone who had my trust. Someone who lived in that house. My breath hitched. Mason. My little brother. The golden child. The one who had always needed just a little help. The one my parents always bailed out. The one they protected at any cost. The one they chose over me. Every time. I felt the weight of the empty seats at my graduation settle onto my shoulders again. But now the heaviness wasn't sadness. It was betrayal. The kind that changes you. The call. I stood, pacing the snowy trail, breath puffing in frantic bursts. I dialed the bank. The agent was calm, reassuring. Fraud alerts, temporary freezes, identity verification processes. Next steps. Her voice was steady, practiced, well-versed in crisis. Mine was not. When she asked, "Do you recognize the person who shares this address?" My throat closed. Yes. A single word. A fracture. After the call, I dialed home with trembling fingers. My father answered. "Hey, Belle. Did you need something?" "The game's on in a few minutes." His voice was casual, light, as if nothing at all had happened. "Did you know?" I asked quietly. "That someone has been emptying my bank account for months." Silence. Not confusion. Not shock. Just silence. The kind that confirms what you already fear. He exhaled. "Belle, things have been hard for your brother. You know how it is." My entire body went numb. "You knew." He sighed again, annoyed this time. "It's family, sweetheart. We help each other. You'll bounce back. You always do." My breath shattered in my chest. "We didn't think you'd mind," he added, as if that made it better. "You don't have a family to support." Mason. I hung up. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't collapse. I just stood there in the snow, the phone still in my hand, the cold biting my skin, my heart pounding steadily in a voice I could finally hear. Enough, enough. Enough. Enough being the afterthought. Enough being the responsible one. Enough being the one who forgives, understands, swallows her hurt. Enough being the daughter they loved only when it was convenient. The mountains didn't lie. They reflected exactly what was inside me. Raw, sharp, undeniable. And I knew what I had to do. Not run, not hide, not try to fix it quietly like I always had, but rise, and confront. And reclaim what was mine. I turned back toward the cabin, each step more certain than the last. The woman who had flown to Colorado was wounded. The woman walking back now was becoming something else entirely. Someone they would no longer be able to ignore. Someone they would no longer be able to use. Someone who was done being afraid of their disappointment. Someone ready to fight. Victoria stepped out of the hotel elevator and paused. The metallic doors slid shut behind her, leaving a low hum in the hallway. A silence she wasn't ready for clung to her chest. During the morning keynote, she had held herself together. The poised professor. The confident speaker, the woman with a practiced half-smile. Applause had echoed like it came from underwater. Several attendees had approached her afterward with questions she answered automatically, like a machine set on autopilot. But now she walked alone. The carpeted corridor absorbed the staccato rhythm of her heels as she moved toward her room. Room 1227. She repeated the number in her head, grounding herself in something simple. Something that didn't hurt. 1227. 1227. Her hand trembled slightly when she slid the keycard into the lock. It blinked red first, then green, like it was mocking her hesitation. The heavy door pushed open, and warm lamplight washed over the room. Tasteful, expensive, sterile. A place designed for people who had their lives together. People who didn't fall apart in front of entire audiences. Who didn't hide tremors in their hands or swallow their anger with overpriced champagne. She dropped her purse on the chair and exhaled, a slow, shattering breath. The moment she was alone, her chest tightened again, not with panic this time, but with something heavier, something she had tried so hard to ignore. What am I doing? Victoria sat on the edge of the bed, fingers curling into the crisp hotel sheets. They were cold. Or maybe she was cold. The thin veneer of composure she'd held on stage began to peel away, piece by piece. Her phone buzzed. She flinched. A single notification lit the screen. Uncle Anthony, one missed call. She stared at the name. The man she had spent years avoiding unless absolutely necessary. Each syllable of his name carried memories she'd buried so deeply that recalling them made her feel like she was inhaling dust. Anthony had always worn power like a badge. Like a weapon. The one man who had taught her, harshly, that vulnerability was weakness, that tears were ammunition for others to use against you. That family loyalty meant obedience, silence, and sacrifice. Especially silence. Victoria pressed the side button and turned the screen off. She couldn't think about him right now. Not when her energy was already fractured and fragile. But the call lingered in her mind like the aftertaste of something bitter. Why now? Why today? She swallowed, throat tight. For years she had avoided anything that tethered her to him. She had built a life, a career, an identity, all in the effort to prove she wasn't the helpless girl who let other people dictate her worth. She had looked at her degrees, her awards, her publications like armor. If she shined brightly enough, maybe no one would look closely at the cracks. But cracks had a way of widening when you least expected them. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a text. Anthony, call me back, it's important. Her stomach clenched. She set the phone face down on the nightstand as if turning away could erase the message from existence. Suddenly, a knock at the door. 3 sharp taps. Not housekeeping. Not a colleague. Too deliberate. Victoria's pulse quickened. She approached the door slowly, each step sinking into the carpet. For a second, she rested her palm against the wood, grounding herself, feeling the vibration of her own heart through her skin. Who is it? Her voice cracked slightly. A beat of silence, then. It's me. No. Not possible. She froze. She hadn't heard that voice in years. A voice that carried youth and regret all at once. A voice she thought she'd never hear again after everything that happened, after everything she lost. Victoria's fingers shook as she unlocked the door. When it opened, her breath caught in her throat. Standing in the hallway, messy hair, worn jacket, and eyes that held 1,000 unsaid words. Her brother. The brother who vanished. The brother the family no longer spoke about. The brother whose absence carved a wound so deep Victoria pretended it didn't exist. He looked older, thinner, uncertain, like someone who had lived too many lives in too little time. Hi, Vicky. The name hit her like a blow. No one called her that anymore. No one dared. Victoria's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her vision blurred for a moment, her body reacting faster than her mind. He lifted his hand slightly, a gesture of peace. I didn't mean to show up like this, he stammered. I tried calling. You didn't answer. Then Uncle Anthony said you were speaking here this week. And he swallowed hard. I needed to see you. Victoria's heart twisted. Confusion, anger, longing, betrayal, and relief all tangled into one unbearable knot. Her voice finally emerged, ragged. What are you doing here? His eyes softened. The same soft hazel he'd had when they were kids sneaking cookies from the pantry at 2 a.m. The same look he had the night he left. I'm in trouble, he whispered. I didn't know where else to go. Victoria felt the air shift around her. Her legs suddenly weakened, and she leaned against the doorframe for support. After everything. After the years of silence. After abandoning her, abandoning everyone. Now he stood here asking for help. She wanted to slam the door. She wanted to hug him until her hands went numb. She wanted to demand answers he was still too scared to give. Instead, she said nothing. He glanced behind her into the room. Can I come in? The question echoed between them, heavy with history. Victoria hesitated, a pause thick enough to feel like a lifetime. Her mind raced. Her heart strained. Her breathing trembled. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, she stepped aside. Her brother walked into the room, and the door clicked shut behind them. The hotel room felt unbearably small. Victoria's brother stood in the center of the carpet, hands tucked into the sleeves of his worn jacket, eyes fixed on the floor. He looked like someone who had been carrying a weight far too heavy for far too long. The air buzzed with unspoken memories. Childhood laughter, shared secrets, painful nights, the moment he left. Victoria remained near the door, not moving. Her chest rose and fell with unsteady breaths. Finally, she spoke. Start talking. He nodded, as if he knew this moment was inevitable. I messed up, he said quietly. A long time ago, and again recently. I got tied up with people who don't forget. I owe money. More than I can pay. And Uncle Anthony. His expression tightened. He said he could make it all go away if I did something for him. Something he wouldn't tell me until I got here. Victoria felt a cold, familiar shiver crawl up her spine. Anthony, she whispered, more to herself than to him. Her brother took a step closer. Vicky, I didn't come to drag you into this. I came because I didn't want him dragging you into it without you knowing. His voice cracked. He's been watching you. Your career. Your talks. Everything. Her stomach sank. Of course he had. Powerful men like Anthony always kept their claws ready. Always waiting for the moment someone, especially someone they once controlled, dared to shine without them. He said. Her brother swallowed hard. He said if I didn't do what he wanted, he'd pull you out of your spotlight. Victoria's jaw clenched. That sounds like him. Her brother's eyes glistened. I didn't know what else to do but warn you. I'm sorry if it's too late. I'm sorry for leaving. I'm sorry for everything. For the first time, he looked utterly breakable. The years of anger inside Victoria flickered, not disappearing but softening. Her voice wasn't harsh this time, but tired. Human, you hurt me, she said. You disappeared when I needed you. You let him go after you. You let him go after me? I know. He wiped his eyes. I know. And I'm not asking you to forgive me. Silence fell. Not hostile, not heavy, just real. Finally, Victoria sat on the bed, elbows on her knees, hands clasped. She stared at the carpet, voice trembling. What do you want from me? Her brother hesitated. Help me get away from him. Victoria looked up. Get away? She repeated. Run, he said. Start over. Somewhere he can't reach. Her instinct was to say no. To scream that she was tired. That she had fought too hard to rebuild herself to tear everything down again. But then she saw something in his eyes. A reflection of the girl she used to be. The one who wanted someone to protect her. The one who never got that chance. And something inside her shifted. We're not running, she said softly. He blinked. What? We're not running. Her voice strengthened. This ends now. For both of us. Her brother shook his head. Vicky, he's dangerous. So am I, she said quietly. Then she picked up her phone. One missed call, one text. One threat disguised as family concern. Victoria dialed a different number. Someone she trusted, someone who owed her a favor. Detective Miller. The voice answered. It's Victoria, she said. I have information for you. About Anthony. Her brother's eyes widened. Are you sure? He whispered. No, she admitted. But I'm done being afraid. The phone call was short, sharp, decisive. She turned over everything she had. Old dealings, hidden accounts she recognized from childhood, suspicious business ties she'd pretended to ignore. Enough to start an investigation. Enough to make Anthony nervous. When she hung up, her hand still trembled, but her heart felt lighter. Her brother sank onto the chair, still stunned. You actually did it, he whispered. Victoria walked to him, kneeling so their eyes met. You're my brother, she said. You hurt me. You broke me. But you're still my family. And I'm not letting him destroy another person I care about. His breath hitched, and suddenly he wrapped his arms around her. Messy, desperate, apologetic. She stiffened at first, then slowly she returned the embrace, not as the wounded girl she once was. Not as the fragile woman she feared she was becoming. But as someone stronger. Someone whole. Later that evening, they left the hotel together. Not running, not hiding, but walking side by side into a future uncertain, but finally theirs. As they stepped into the cool night air, Victoria looked up at the city lights. For the first time in years, the weight on her chest loosened. She had faced the conference, faced her panic, faced her past, faced her brother, faced the man who had once controlled everything. And now she finally felt free.